Welcome! In this series of videos, I'm going to show you how anyone can assemble and frost a layer cake. I'm not an expert, but I'm going to show you some tips and tricks that I use in my home to put together a layer cake. In the first video, we will be preparing the cake for assembly. Okay, the first thing you have to do once your cake is baked, before you start assembling the layers, is you need to level your cake. And this is done because if you've ever built a layer cake and you put the top layer off, sometimes you get a crack straight down the middle, and that's because the cake isn't sitting flat, and so it just kind of buckles around the edges. So we're going to cut off the top layer, and I'm also going to flip the cake over here for a second and show you how I prepared it for baking. You want to grease and flour your pans, but also I have here a piece of parchment paper. This was a pre-cut 8-inch round of parchment paper that you put down in the bottom of your pan and grease and flour along with the pan, and that way this cake just popped right out of the pan and you don't have to worry about anything breaking or crumbling apart as you're taking it out. You get a perfectly round, nice cake. And I baked these last night, and they're a little sticky on top, I think because of moisture, but that's okay. So this is my cake leveling saw. This one was my grandmother's. I think it's probably about 50 years old. You can buy new ones. They don't have a big frame like this. This is the saw part. The newer ones are just a saw with feet, with rubber feet, and you can adjust the level of the blade depending on where you need to cut your cake. On this one, we can adjust the different corners and make it different heights. So I've adjusted it to about where I want it to be to cut off the right amount of cake. So I'm just going to very gently level this cake off. And this saw is very sharp, so it does a really nice job of cutting this off. And then we see we have a nice level cake. You can see some tunnels. That means I overmixed it a little bit. So if you get a lot of tunnels in something you bake, that means you probably overmixed it. It's okay, it'll taste the same. What you do with this piece is up to you. You can crumble it up and mix it with frosting, turn it into cake balls, eat it just like a snack, do whatever you want with it. I'm going to set it off to the side. And then we're going to level our other half. And again, we had a parchment paper on the bottom. These are The Art of Cooking. I believe that's the brand name if you're looking for it. So I'm going to check my level because this cake might not be exactly the same size as the other piece, but that looks pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it at the same level. You don't want to cut too much off or your layers will be very, very thin. It doesn't go all the way to the edge, but that's okay because we can fill that with frosting. All right, so I have both of my layers leveled, and we're going to move on to the next step. In the next video, I will show you how to make easy and delicious buttercream frosting.